Intimidation. Many tactics can be gathered under the general label of intimidation. What they have in common is that they all attempt to force the other party to agree by means of the emotional ploy, usually anger and fear. For example, the other party might deliberately anger to indicate the seriousness of the point. Oops. And let's see if I can get to the same page. Yes, I can. Intimidation. One of the authors of the Negotiations book shared such a story about his experience. Once a while, I was negotiating at the car salesman. He lost his temper, destroyed his written notes, told me to sit down and listen to him, and went on to explain in a loud voice that this was the best deal in the city, and if I did not accept it, that evening I should not bother returning to dealership and wasting his time. I didn't buy the car and haven't been back, nor I suspect I have any of the students in my negotiation classes to whom I relate this story every year. I suspect that a salesman was trying to intimidate me into agreeing to the deal and realized if I went elsewhere, his deal would not look as good. What he didn't realize was that I have asked the accountant at the dealership for future information about the deal, and have found that he had lied about the value of the trade-in, and he really lost his cool when I exposed his lie. Another form of intimidation increased the appearance of legitimacy. When there is a high degree of legitimacy, there are set policies and procedures for resolving disputes. Negotiators who do not have such policies and procedures available may appear legitimate. For example, policies that are written in manual or pre-printed official form and agreement are less likely to be questioned than those that are delivered verbally. And this is as per Cohen. And long and detained loan contracts used by the banks in consumer loans are seldom read completely and higher the appearances of legitimacy. The less likely the other party will question the process being formed and the contract terms and being proposed. Finally, guilt can be used as a form of intimidation. Negotiators can question the other party's integrity or the other's lack of trust in them. The purpose of this tactic is to guilt or trust rather than discussing the substance of negotiations. To deal with intimidation tactics, negotiators have several options. Intimidation tactics are designed to make the intimidator feel more powerful than the other party and let people to make concessions for emotional rather than objective reasons. Example, a new fact. When making a concession, it's important for negotiators to understand why they are doing so. If one starts to feel threatened and assume that the other party is more powerful when objective is that he is not, and simply accept the legitimacy of the negotiator's common policy, then it's likely that intimidator is having an effect on the negotiations. If the other negotiator is acting aggressively when discussing the negotiator's process for him or her, and a good option, you can explain that your policy is to bargain in a fair and respectable manner, that you expect to be treated the same way in return. Another good option is to ignore the other party attempts to intimidate you, because intimidation can only have effect on you if you let it. While this may sound too simple to be realistic, you can think about why some people are intimidated by authority figures and others not. The reason often lies in the perceiver, not the authority figure. Another effective strategy for dealing with intimidation is to use a team of negotiators with another party. Teams have at least two advantages over individuals in acting against intimidators. First, people are not always intimidated by the same thing, while you may be intimidated by one particular negotiator. It is quite possible that the other member on the team won't be. In an ongoing negotiation in China when he was younger, one of the authors of this negotiation book found that his Chinese counterpart were frequently changing their team members so that older and older members appear in each subsequences of negotiation sessions. He decided to bring senior colleague of his own to subsequent meetings in order not to be intimidated by age and experience of all counterparts on the negotiation team. The second advantage of using team is that the team member can discuss the tactic of the other negotiators and provide mutual support if the intimidation starts to become increasingly uncomfortable.